Hey everybody, it's me, Kristin. We're back for another summer short. I know it's been a while, but we've all had life and computer problems and stuff like that going on. So we're back. Nice to see you all. We're going to do another mini news episode today, but I'm thrilled to say that we have a guest. So it's not just going to be me and Adam laughing at each other's jokes for probably too much time. We have the fabulous Daniel Krolik. He's been a previous guest of the Bad Gay Movies, Bitchy Gay Men podcast and many other wonderful things. So without further ado, I am going to bring back Adam to tell us what's important about today.
Hi, Kristen. Well, we're nearing the end of summer. I'm really excited to be back.
I know.
And what a week to come back to. There's lots of reasons to have chosen this week to come back. First of all, we've all been obsessed over the past week and a half with images like these. The US government has decided to leave Afghanistan, causing like this giant crush of people at the Kabul airport trying to get out of there before the Taliban come after them. This here is a picture of a plane with, I think, over 800 people crammed into it. It's far over capacity, and somehow this managed to take off. And the pictures are just gruesome. They've really been causing people to obsess over what's happening with this 20-year war, which Canada is very much complicit in. We've been there the whole 20 years too. But speaking of things that could use some gruesome graphics and pictures, the COVID virus is threatening everyone's fall plans as the Delta variant breaks through and causes cases in hospitals to surge again. And unfortunately, a lot of people are still in COVID denialism, not believing that this virus is either real or as threatening as it is. And much like Vietnam, perhaps we need some pictures from hospitals to like break through the malaise and get people to realize how serious of an issue this is. Unfortunately, or fortunately for some people, medical privacy is very important to people, and private photos are something that we need to really take into consideration. Speaking of
I
which,
clicked that too fast.
yeah, that's okay. So perhaps we need some photos from the front lines of hospitals showing how serious of an issue the Delta virus is. Much like Vietnam, it could take some gruesome photos from hospitals to break through the malaise and make people realize that this is a true crisis. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, people's privacy when it comes to photography and their own personal lives is a big issue, which we've also learned in the past couple days with this dude, the Nirvana Nevermind baby man, suing Nirvana for child pornography. I mean, most people think that this guy is still just chasing after dollar bills, but it is worth noting that the man who posed as the baby, well, I guess the baby who posed as the baby who is now a man on the Nevermind album cover, his family only got paid $200 for that photo, and that album has made millions and millions and millions of dollars since. So I do think he is owed some money from Nevermind. However, his lawsuit claiming that this photo on the cover is somehow child pornography is a little bit ridiculous. And I think most people realize that, especially any mother who's put pictures of her own children on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch, which is all of the mothers. But the real big
naked,
issue,
though, not naked pictures. You don't put naked pictures of your baby up on the internet. I think we know that now.
we know that. I mean, Kenny G got in trouble with Walmart for putting a photo of his naked child on a cover of an album with him. And then there was a tort for this. They said that it was not child pornography because nudes of babies, just because babies are naked a lot and toddlers are naked a lot and they run around, that those are not child pornography because it's just part of family life. So this guy's probably not going to win his lawsuit, but he probably does.
He's gonna get some publicity, and that's what he wants.
He's going to get some publicity. That is what he wants. But the big issue, the reason that I think that we need to have an episode right now is the Canada election coming up. This is a Canadian show, and we have
election time. That's my election dance.
I wasn't expecting you to be so happy for a snap election, which 80% of the Canadian population is like not cool with right now.
Oh no, I hate it. It's terrible, but I have a dance for it to cheer myself up.
That's amazing. So yeah, it's election time. Trudeau last week decided to call a snap election. Unfortunately, it did happen on the same day that Kabul started needing to be evacuated. So our minds haven't been fully on this, but you can tell that people are gearing into it because the National Post and all of Canada's right-wing media is really worried that this man, Jagmeet Singh, might be our next prime minister. They've written several takedown articles on him, including one where his wife, who is a successful fashion designer, should not own pretty dresses, and another one that just came out today suggesting that because his father was a physician in India, that Jagmeet Singh doesn't somehow understand what it means to be a person of color in Canada, which is, just a little racist, National Post, just a tiny bit. But I wanted to get into the real issues, the real policy platforms with you, Kristin. So let's talk Canadian elections and your happy election dance.
Well, I don't know. I feel like this was a naked power grab on the part of the Liberals, and they're like, "Oh, good, we have high approval ratings. Let's have the shortest election ever." Which, believe me, I want a short election. Nobody wants the perpetual election cycle like they have in the States, where everyone is campaigning all the time. Nobody wants that. But I'd like whatever it was, like 6 weeks or something like that. Less than 6 weeks. It's too. It's maybe a bit short.
That's actually the rules, Kristin. That's the rules. When they call a snap election, there's a preset amount of time, which is why he chose the day he chose to call it on, because he wanted it to be on September 20th. So he ended up having to do it on the day that Afghan fell to the Taliban.
Well, you can't control everything in life, and I don't think Justin Trudeau had an awful lot to say in that decision. But I think it seems to not be going great because you saw. I'm sure everyone has been making fun online of that very poorly spelled conservative flyer with anti-corruption and essential services and stuff like that. But the Conservatives are going up in the polls as much as I've not been following this because right. But yeah, apparently the Liberals are not looking so hot anymore. And if you think Jagmeet Singh is going to be our prime minister, that's never going to happen. Sorry, Jagmeet.
Well, I don't know if they're also going up in the polls right now, Kristin. Yeah. He's the most popular.
50% though, honestly, is the NDP going to ever form a federal government here? But what is good is that the Ontario Conservatives are not campaigning for O'Toole. Ford has made a deal with the Liberals that they are not allowed. His ministers cannot campaign for the federal Conservatives.
Wow.
But
I'm sure the federal Conservatives are happy about that too, though, because
very unpopular.
Ford is not popular right now. Wow, no, that's interesting. I do think there is a chance of a breakthrough for the NDP. I think Jack Layton came very close to that if he had stayed alive. I think we could have seen that in our lifetime. And I think, young people are really excited about Jagmeet Singh. He is currently the most popular individually of the party leaders. Yeah. And there is an upsurge in NDP popularity happening right now again, which is why all these smackdown articles from the right-wing media. But I think one of the big issues, you have to look at people's platforms. And so I was looking at some of the policy things. And one of my big hobby horses is urban design issues. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know the history of North America, urban design and our terrible urban design in this country and in the US is the cause for huge amounts of social inequity, racism, as well as environmental catastrophe. Like the constant sprawl of our suburbs means we are all more car dependent. Means more greenhouse gases in the air. The fact that we live separate from each other means that we're not as connected with our neighbors as we might be. A lot of the design of the suburbs is blatantly based off of racism and redlining. And when the suburbs were built, the way they encouraged some people to move there and other people to not actually de-integrate it. Resegregated communities that had actually come together that were mixed communities that had different races already getting along, and then we kind of tore those apart. So there's a lot to do with housing and the missing middle. And if anyone has looked at rent or the cost of a house right now, we know we're in hyperinflation when it comes to housing costs. So I looked at the platforms, and it's really weird because the Conservatives are looking at building us 1 million houses for people in the next 4 years, and the Liberals are going to get us 1.4 million houses in the next 4 years. And then the further left you go, the NDP are going to get us 500,000 units in the next 10 years, half of them in the next 4. And the Green Party is going to get us 300,000 units. So somehow the further left you go, they're getting smaller and smaller numbers, which is not normally the way it goes with progressive politics. And
I think there's something in there about like the kind of left distrust of developers, right? It's like you're going to build 1.4 million houses, but what kind of houses are they going to be? Are they going to be more suburban sprawl? Are they going to be displacing, wetlands and shit like that? Are we going to be building on the green belt in Toronto, which is a big conservative bugbear that they want to do? So I don't know. I might come from there. But I don't know. And like, who's building these houses? How are they building these houses? Is this some massive social housing thing that they're gonna do? Because I could get behind that because we definitely need that. But
I mean, yeah, they're all. So the Conservatives is the only one that really says what they're going from. It's from 15% of federal real estate to housing. So property that the federal government already owns, and some of that could be houses that they own for international purposes in the suburbs. Like I know living here, where I live in Toronto, that there are some houses that are owned by the federal government for like the National Film Board, things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where those exactly are, but that could be more suburban holdings. They're the only ones who actually kind of give an indication of where. The 1.4 million that the Liberals say, some of that comes from rebuilding or reinvesting in housing, social housing that already exists, that has like fallen into disrepair because the government over the past 40 years has taken less,
has done shit about it. Yeah,
it has given less of a shit about public housing. So suddenly the fact that they're back in the game at all, and the fact that all 4 parties are like public housing is important, is like just like, that's a huge thing. The NDP is saying that they're the only ones that say that they're going to try and end homelessness, which I think might be why their housing units are down, because the units that you would give to house the homeless wouldn't be counted in this. It would be temporary housing for people to stay off the streets. And that might be some of the same land that we're talking about. And the Green Party wants to redefine the formula for what affordable housing is. And I don't know what that means either, but they do say 300 units of deeply affordable co-op and non-profit housing. So they're kind of focusing on what can be cooperative. And I think that goes to what you say, the distrust of developers and what that could end up being. Are there any issues that you've got a hobby horse for in our federal politics?
Not particularly, but I do want to bring up the absolutely bonkers news that O'Toole is courting the LGBT vote by promising to legalize poppers. That was a news story a couple weeks ago.
Say what?
That pressing issue throughout the LGBT community of the legality or illegality of poppers. Apparently, someone told O'Toole what poppers are for, and he was like, I'm going to get the gay vote. Poppers are going to be legal in Canada. I didn't know they were illegal. I thought you could just like buy them.
I mean, sure. What they're not something that the cops go after, really. Like, 'cause I think it's like, it used to be like head cleaner for your VCR is what poppers are. So at some point they were legal because you had to clean your VCR. Now that no one has one of those, maybe I don't know what the legality of poppers is. That's not getting my vote. And really, if he's trying to get all of the LGBT vote, he's just going after power bottoms. Like, I don't think we have...
Like a really small slice of the G might go for that, but all the other letters, I don't think they're that interested.
25% of the G is going after that. The L, the B, the T, all of them are like...
Other letters don't care.
And he did dog whistle some stuff about the freedom of moral choices in the medical field. Like, if you are a doctor who is from an extreme religious background, and I want to say extreme, but like a very conservative religious background, that you should have the right to refuse service to people, which has come up in Canada again and again. Partly because, just like Jagmeet Singh's father, who was a physician who moved here to be a doctor, a lot of medical professionals in Canada do come from overseas and then have a much more liberal government here than they do maybe where they're from. But and so there have been issues where doctors have not wanted to give services to LGBT people. But I say no, suck it up, princesses. You came here. This is that we were liberal, like, we have a Declaration of Human Rights, we have a charter. You have to treat all people like people, no matter what they are to you. So no, I kind of don't think that he can legalize poppers and then delegalize medicine for us and get our vote. I'm not.
Poppers. What else do you need? I mean, oh yeah. And also, if you are on the fence about voting liberal or conservative, please vote liberal because of the childcare program. As someone who moved from Ontario, where there is no childcare, to Quebec, where there is a functioning childcare system, it's really important. Just do it. I don't care if you think that women should stay home. Fuck you. Vote. Just don't. The conservatives will scrap it. They'll replace it with something useless. This is actually a good thing that the liberals are doing. So if you're gonna make the choice between those two parties, vote liberal. And if you are not, do whatever you want, but just don't vote. Don't vote for Maxime Bernier if he's even allowed to run. I think he's in jail or something.
Well, from poppers to childcare, I think that's a good segue. Now bring in Daniel Krolik, one of the hosts of Bad Gay Movies, Bitchy Gay Men. Daniel Krolik, come on board. Let us know what you think about Canadian politics and the Canadian election. How are you doing today?
Daniel is still on mute. Come on, Danny. Come on up. All right. Well, we will give. Things are happening. Are things happening? Let's stall for time while Daniel's getting his.
Well, the nice thing is we can edit this part out. Yay! Hi, Daniel. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
So Daniel, I'm sure you've heard everything we had to say about the Canadian election coming up. Do you have any thoughts about Canadian politics right now? Childcare, poppers, misspellings?
None of the above. Oh God, everything's exhausting. Everything makes me angry and tired and sad. So I don't fucking know. I don't know, and God, I don't care anymore. So next topic.
Oh wow. Daniel Krolik not voting on September 20th.
No, I'm voting. It's just like, God, it's a stupid fucking country. So, everybody just, I don't know.
Next topic. And speaking of stupid fucking countries, it's time for
stupid news.
Stupid fucking news stories. So as I always say, as the most serious and well-respected news outlet out there, we are very careful to select only the top and most important news stories to cover in our news segment. So I hope that you all feel edified and enlightened, and we'll all come out of this as better people. Moving on to our first story. New pictures show Wally the walrus relaxing on small boat in Crookhaven. This is actually an update. A walrus was seen off the coast of Ireland. I don't know if you remember that. There are not normally walruses there. But this dude has been hanging around for a couple months, and apparently he keeps going into boats and sinking them. So the original headline I saw for this story was that he was going to be given a floating couch so he would not sink any more boats. Because sometimes you just want to take a break, and he weighs like 800 pounds, so most boats can't handle that. Thoughts? Who wants a floating couch?
I mean, I want a floating couch. I also want, a way to lose my 800 pounds after being indoors all of COVID. So I feel like Wally Walrus is a little bit of all of us right now. We all want to get onto a nice boat in Ireland, and we're all afraid of sinking it. So I kind of feel a connection to Wally the Walrus. Daniel, what do you think of this aquatic mammal?
I mean, this is the first I've heard of it. I don't know if I dropped out of the news cycle and missed this important story, but I'm here for it, and I hope Wally the Walrus is enjoying themselves.
Yep, I think he might be a little lonely without any female walrus company, but at least he's got a lot of boats to sink.
Sure.
Basically, he's actually just trying to keep people out of his backyard. Like, he's been sent by all the other walruses, like, hey, there's some land mammals over there that keep coming into our sea mammal territory. Go sink their boats. He's like, okay, it's a job. he's going out, like, we think it's accidental, but really it's eco-terrorism.
Walruses are doing eco-terrorism on people, while I, for one, fully support them. Speaking of eco-terrorism, Saskatoon sledding chicken meets tragic end at hands of farmyard predator. So the young owner of this chicken, chickypoo, Lennon Poole, is doing her best to cope with the loss of her pet. I think that sledding chicken must have made news previously, though I also missed that portion of the news cycle that this little girl who lives on a farm in Saskatchewan liked to take her chicken Chickypoo sledding, and her family went away for the weekend, and when they came back, a predator had gotten into the hen house, and Chickypoo was no more. So I think we can all agree that Chickypoo cries out for justice. Daniel, any thoughts?
I hope that wasn't a recent picture of Saskatchewan. It's the middle of August. That's an old picture, right?
No, that's an old picture. That's from the past winter. Yeah, no.
You never know.
My sister lives in Saskatoon. It's cold, but it's not that cold.
Okay.
They have a heat dome right now. It's not. I like looking at the snow, but it's not
year round
right now in Saskatoon. I don't know. This story has everything, doesn't it, Daniel? We've got like joy. We have children coming of age. We have a farmyard animal named Chickenboo.
Well, how old is the child? The
5.
child's 5? Yeah, you're not coming of age at 5.
No. Dealing with loss, though, is
something. You're coming of unage, but you're not coming of age.
Well, apparently she had insisted that she was going to take Chickypoo with her to kindergarten, so Chickypoo's death does solve a problem for her family.
I mean, yeah, bad idea, Jeans. That would be a school closure I can get behind if schools would close after a freak chicken accident in a kindergarten.
I don't know. I feel for this kid. I feel for this family. This story has everything but Glenn Close. Like, it's got all of the things that I want in a rural comic tragedy. It feels like it has both of those elements to it.
I'm sorry. I apologize if my mind wandered. How did Chickypoo meet their end?
At the hands of a farmyard predator. History does not relate. They didn't see it happening. They went away for the weekend and they came back and she was gone. She's
like dead. A farmyard predator, like somebody invited Chickypoo up to their hotel for a massage, and
no.
And then
I'm more
and
like
then Chickypoo started a hashtag.
Or a coyote, or I don't know what else kills chickens.
Do they have coyotes in Saskatchewan?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the film industry in Saskatchewan, so it's as likely that there's a hashtag here. I think Daniel's onto something. It's the NBC To Catch a Predator type.
Like, what kind of a predator? Was there an older chicken who invited the underage chicken over, and then it was caught on a camera?
A neighboring rooster.
Hope not.
And that's why Chickypoo got out of competitive sledding, because they couldn't take the stress anymore. It was
I really hope that in this enlightened age of consent that we're all living in, that Chickypoo's end was met justifiably. I hope everything was above board for Chickypoo.
Well, I mean, I don't want to inform this child about what happens to all the other chickens in the farm, but let her be innocent for now.
Yeah. And if this wasn't a case, I hope that the chicken gatekeepers just recognize their mistakes, and access and diversity is needed for all chickens.
Absolutely.
I think chicken gatekeeping was the real issue, though.
Literally, yeah.
We need more chicken gatekeeping and not less chicken gatekeeping, according to this story, really, because that's how the predator got in. They need to take more responsibility for the dangerous members of the community that they've allowed in with uninhibited access. That's what I think about those gatekeepers. It's like Burning Man on that chicken farm. They're just not taking enough responsibility for the people they let in.
Oh my God. All right. Well, in more animal news, you probably also saw this story. This was going viral a while ago. Dr. Peo, the horse comforting cancer patients in Calais, in pictures. So there's a bunch of pictures of this horse, which people they in this hospital in France goes around. I don't know what horses do, hanging out with people with cancer, which I'm just going to show one picture because it doesn't have a clear picture of a patient. I didn't want to show people dying of cancer on here. But I really like this picture because it looks like the horse is responsible for whatever happened in the hospital bed behind him, and he's dealing with his conscience.
I mean, it also looks like the horse has fucking had it.
Yeah. Can't take it. No, the horse is burnt out.
Wouldn't you be? You're in France. You're not. I mean, they do eat horse in France, so this is a better old age routine for him than what could happen to him. But yeah, it does look like he's about to get arrested.
This is like the shot where he confesses to his crime.
Yeah. The horse is saying to me like, go ahead and arrest me. I fucking dare you. Try it. See what happens.
He's one of the rich people in White Lotus. Like there's no consequences for him. It's like, I'm a horse. I can do what I want.
How would you feel if you were lying on your deathbed and a horse just shuffled up and stuck his face in your face? I mean, would you like that? I would probably just die.
I don't know what. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't know what kind of animal I would want on my deathbed.
Therapy cat?
I haven't thought. Oh, no, I'm done with cats. I haven't thought that far in the future. I mean, but like ideally, you know, you would want to be comforted by something you could hold and cradle and nestle, I guess, because that sort of intimacy is important. So there's nothing. I admire horses. I like what they do, but I don't know if I would be calling out for a horse on my deathbed.
Because you're not a horse person, but horse people think that everyone loves horses as much as they do. Like, if you're a horse person, it makes total sense to you that, of course, everyone would want to have a horse visit them on their deathbed because they just think horses, they want horses around everyone all the time. But non-horse people, like me, I mean, I think a horse is just like a car with a very tiny brain, right?
I haven't spent enough time around horses to become a horse person. So, you know, I mean, it's possible that I am one without even knowing it. But I don't think that's the case.
Kristin's face is like, no, you're not.
I found out by now if you were a horse person. They're a breed apart.
What strikes me is that you're on a morphine drip at this moment in your life, and so you're kind of half hallucinating too. So you're in a hospital. A thing that does not belong in a hospital comes up, and people are telling you to nestle it, and there's a giant face coming at you that's a horse. I think you might think that horses are God at that moment in time, that we're angels. You're just like, oh, this was it the whole time.
I wish I'd been a horse person.
I wish I had been a horse person.
Well, for more, moving on within the Francophonie, we have our beautiful news from Quebec Slide. Laval investigates after men wearing camouflage caught draining wetland. So this is a weird ass story. Laval is a suburb of Montreal. There is a wetland, which, let me show the picture again, is surrounded by apartment buildings. And apparently it is owned by the city plus these apartment building owners. And some people want to develop it but can't get permission to because it is a wetland and it is like not up for sale or anything like that. But yeah, apparently some people have been trying to, like with hoses and shit, just drain the wetland. I don't know why or what they think is going to happen. And
Laval is like the Florida of Quebec. No rules, Mad Max, anything
Quebec
goes.
is the Florida of Canada, and Laval is the Florida of Quebec.
Wow, that's like a double Florida there. So that's interesting.
But Laval is funny because it's mostly suburbs, so it's mostly, you know, homes and shopping and schools and what have you, but it's also side by side with these gigantic tracts of land that are just endless and that are, for the most part, I think, undeveloped. Like my best friend growing up lived in Laval, and he lived in like a normal suburban house, but he lived right across from this like gigantic expanse of undeveloped land. So there's a lot of that happening in Laval.
And shout out to my brother-in-law who lives in Laval, and I found out recently watches our show. So
fabulous.
Yeah, it's a great place. Ignore all the bad things we said about Laval. We like it.
Laval, it's like Florida. We also we love hate it. You know.
But can you unequivocally give your brother-in-law an alibi, Kristin?
No, he wouldn't drain a swamp.
If the police come knocking?
No, I don't think he's interested in property development in Laval, and he's not the type of person who would. I think if he had tried to drain the swamp, it would have worked.
It's frightening.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess this is sort of science news, not really animal news anymore. A man injected himself with mushrooms, and the fungi took over his blood. So this gentleman, I forget where he was. It may have been Florida. Decided to take mushrooms, magic mushrooms, by injecting them. PSA, don't do that because your blood, as it says, is also a damp, dark place, which is where mushrooms like to grow. So he became incredibly sick, and all of his blood had to be filtered. to get the mushrooms out. But he survived. So
It's
happy
so
end.
weird because like mushrooms are so quick acting anyway. Like they take to your system instantaneously because you're basically eating poison. So why would you go through the trouble of injection if you're already eating something that is so strong and is going to take a hold of you so quickly?
I mean, we're assuming that the person injecting mushrooms had an intelligent understanding of drug use, which I think his actions prove are not true. He just wanted to have like that super psychedelic trip, which I'm sure if the mushrooms start replicating in his bloodstream, he ended up having.
Which also I'm sympathetic towards, because like anything to get away from this current state of reality, no matter what side of the political divide that you're on, I could understand. So if injecting mushrooms into your blood is going to take you 5% further away from this world that we're currently living in, then like all the more power.
Don't do it. Daniel, don't recommend people do something that will probably kill them on this show. Or they'll wind up in that hospital and have a horse come and like poke them.
Oh God, what a way to go.
And you're high on mushrooms while it's happening.
Yeah.
And morphine, so.
And the ghost of Chicky-poo and Chicky-poo's predators are floating around your head.
Oh no. Oh God.
You wear a disguise to look like human guys. You're not a man, you're a mushroom. Like, of all the news we've done with like, do you want to live in a horror movie because this is how you start a horror movie? This is like one of the weirdest ones. I'm glad that it worked out well for him, but like, I can see like, you want to be a Cronenberg monster? This is how you become a Cronenberg monster.
And it's also funny at this given time because mushrooms, I find, is the new weed. Like I think mushrooms are just like a hair away from legalization. You can already, you can already order mushroom products, mushroom capsules, mushroom tablets from different parts of the country and have it delivered to you. So it's funny that this story is breaking when mushrooms I think are just like a hair away from legalization.
And if I'm remembering the story correctly, this guy who suffered from mental illness, and he had heard that mushrooms can help. So I think that might have backfired on him. Yeah, but
especially microdosing is what they say. Like you're supposed to take a very small amount of the mushroom, and it
full disclosure. I microdosed last night. I was with a friend who had capsules that he ordered from BC, and it was lovely. We just spent an hour laughing at YouTube videos. Like, and I think microdosing is a lovely way to go about your day. If anybody here watches The Good Fight, there was a subplot in the second season about Christine Baranski microdosing because she couldn't take the current reality of the world we're all living in. So there's I get it and I understand the impulse, but there's no need to inject.
All right, next story. An Alabama man thought he'd been shot by an intruder. It turned out it was his wife's boyfriend secretly living in the house.
Finally, the dramatization of Shaggy's "It Wasn't Me" that we all needed.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. Then I shot him in the kitchen. That was me.
It was me. So apparently the wife was very, very drunk. She forgot or maybe she was doing some kind of Lady Macbeth scenario where she was trying to get rid of one or both of the men. She told her husband that there was an intruder in the house. He went to investigate. They obviously both had guns because it's America, and shot each other. Wow. Or maybe this one of them got shot. I'm not sure. Anyway.
Is this like a Parasite situation where the boyfriend was living in like a basement tunnel compartment that...
He'd been living in the house for like a year.
But like on the same floor?
A year?
No, I don't know. I think in the attic. But there's a Nick Nolte movie called Hider in the House. Have you ever seen that?
No, keep talking.
Where he hides in a family's house, I believe in their attic, so maybe I'm just remembering that.
It's evil Bart Simpson living in the attic. I don't know, Kristin, as the only cis woman kind of person here today, would you want an extra man living in your home and see like one man leaves and then you just have another one to deal with?
No, one is enough. Sometimes too much.
Or
no,
is or was the wife just so horny that she needed the boyfriend at proximity at all time? Like she just couldn't get enough.
I just don't get it. Like, why would you do? How would you hide that? Like, how? What was he eating? Like, how was he surviving? Did she just like bring him like food and Tupperware up in the attic and stuff like that? Like, how would he go to the bathroom? Like,
Or again, was it just like a Parasite thing where like she created like a, you know, like a living space, you know, on the other end of a crawl tunnel that she built in the basement?
but also like, if you get sick of this, can't you just say leave? Like, do you have to like try to engineer one guy to kill the other one so you can get rid of one of them?
Like
What I
that.
want to know, is the crawl space this guy living in, is that one of the 1.4 million housing units that the Liberal government is going to
Quite possibly.
upgrade
Quite
into?
possibly.
Everyone gets an extra boyfriend living in their house.
An extra D for everyone.
Well, you know, gotta redistribute the wealth, I guess. Speaking of unintended consequences, fish can get hooked on meth in drug-polluted waters, study suggests. There's a very strong outlook in fish. So if I'm trying to remember the details of this correctly, they studied like meth, like if you do drugs, some of them will wind up in the water because they do, you know, water treatment cleans up bacteria and stuff and filters solids out, but can't do much about meth. And apparently fish congregate in waters that have extra meth in them. So what do we need to do to reach out to the fish community to teach them about the dangers of drug use?
Send them Nancy Reagan. do we need a fish Nancy Reagan in a tight, you know, a tight curl bob and just like coming in and telling them not to do drugs? Have a special episode with Fish Webster explaining what the
Was Webster ever on drugs? Webster was too young to get.
Wasn't Nancy on Webster and like she
Nancy
has
was on Different Strokes.
Oh, okay, well, let's get our 80s references right, guys.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
What's he talking about, Nancy?
The Reagans engineered the drug cartels coming into the States and then cherry-picked what popular sitcoms they wanted to appear on to stop it.
I believe that 100%, and I want to see that episode of Narcos.
And also, like, I know this isn't going to solve the meth-addicted fish problem, but this cannot be said enough. Fuck the Reagans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck the We've said that many times on this show.
Many times. Yeah.
We are. They are our least favorite of the presidents.
I hope they're down there listening, but fuck the Reagans.
Yeah. Through sheer competency, they are worse than Trump.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what freaks me out about this though is that if it stays in the water for fish, doesn't that mean it stays in the water for all of us?
Yeah, but it's not. We're a lot bigger than fish, so we don't experience it as
You've
causing any
seen
effect.
some fish, Kristin. Can you guarantee that the fish they're talking about in this article are not? Because like you're as big as a
like
tuna.
bluefin tuna or something like
But
that.
is this?
Like, yeah.
But my question is this going to get incorporated into the Disney live-action Little Mermaid reboot that is currently shooting?
Ariel is hooked on meth. Oh,
Yeah, no. I think is it Queen Latifah as Ursula? Oh no, it's Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
Well,
as Ursula. So instead of Under the Sea, are we going to get some like Jamaican crab ditty about getting methadone into your system so you can like wean yourself off of the meth water?
There you go. Yeah, that seems like a gritty reboot of Little Mermaid on the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is something I do not want to see. Little Mermaid, yeah, Melissa McCarthy is a great cast. Queen Latifah would have been a great cast, but the fact that Ursula was based off Divine, I really would have loved to have seen. What, you didn't know that, Kristin?
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
The big composer during the revival of Disney, all the big musical 90s Disney shows was a gay man dying of AIDS. And so all your best childhood memories, millennials, are because of gay men dying of AIDS. Mm-hmm. And he injected like Divine into the character of Ursula. So I would have loved to have seen like a drag queen from that type of lineage, like taking over the role and really like bringing that queer part back out in it, because it's a bit of the gay culture that should be left in the movie, I think. But if you didn't know it, everyone. But
it's also like it's a lot easier to code those things in an animated movie than it is, you know, in a corporate synergy live action version.
Isn't Queen Latifah gay though? Isn't she a lesbian?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
She did, and the reason that I said her is because there was this like very bizarre Little Mermaid live version on ABC a few years ago where Latifah sang Poor Unfortunate Souls for that. So that's why I conflated the two.
You mixed it up.
I mean, I would have liked her as a Ursula. I think she would have been a good cast. Someone else the other day was making the same, you know, like, who is it? Is it not this person? When I was buying my shoes, I bought shoes, and the shoe seller was like,
good for you.
Isn't Queen
Was
Latifah
Queen
in the new
Latifah
live action for Little Mermaid?
the person
I
selling me
had that
shoes was like,
conversation
is
two
Queen
weeks ago.
Latifah going to be Ursula in the live action Little Mermaid? This is a real interaction that I had, and I was like, no, I think it's Melissa McCarthy.
Wait, why did she ask you? Like, why were you the person? I mean, obviously you're the right person to ask, but how do they know?
But
No.
I also feel that for some reason, and I have nothing to base this on, I feel that underwater Queen Latifah would get the job done in terms of getting Ariel off of the meth more so than Melissa McCarthy would.
Oh yeah, Melissa McCarthy would have ended up more. Most of her characters, if it's Melissa McCarthy from Bridesmaids,
Melissa McCarthy's an enabler.
That's true.
She's
yeah,
such
she's
an
an
enabler.
enabler in all of her movies. But in Bridesmaids, she's the one who like gets sense into everyone. So it depends on which Melissa McCarthy we're talking about. Oscar-nominated Melissa McCarthy, or all the other roles that she's played.
But also Melissa McCarthy's second Oscar nomination came from that like celebrity bio forger who just like died in her cat food in Will You Ever Forgive Me?
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
So I don't know about that. But if I was a meth addicted mermaid, I would want Queen Latifah to scare me straight, so to speak, more so than Melissa McCarthy.
All right, well, you heard it here first. Daniel Krolik supports Queen Latifah's underwater meth clinic. I think we can all get behind that. And now we always like to end on a positive note. And this story that I chose for our final story tonight is for the single people out there. I want you to know there is someone out there for everyone.
I hate this already.
Woman marries man convicted of killing her brother. And
this picture looks like people who have only seen kissing on television but have never tried it out for themselves.
Yeah. So apparently she wrote to him in jail to say that she forgave him for killing her brother, and he wrote back and said, "You don't need to forgive me because I'm innocent." It has apparently convinced her, gotten a new trial, and has been released while he's awaiting trial, and they got married. So there you go, true love.
Yeah. I mean, when you show me something like that, I think of the Sex and the City episode when like the four girls went to the wedding and like the bouquet landed at their feet, but nobody wanted to pick it up.
that is the wedding that they are going to have or have had. Wait, quick question. Was that the man who shot the husband? Because that would be an extra twist.
Wasn't me.
No, this happened quite some time ago. So no, it was not. That would be some great synergy. I mean, we managed to bring together a lot of stories today with the horses and the mushrooms and chickypoo all in the same thing. But no, I would love it if the brother was the Alabama man shot by his wife's secret live-in boyfriend. But no, he didn't die.
Well, Kristin, I mean, we've wrapped everything into something so far. We've had a callback for all of our references, except for one. We started the show talking about the Delta variant, and I don't think we've had any callbacks for that. Do you have something for us to play us out to?
I do. I do have a great callback for the Delta variant, but first I want to remind everyone that you can buy us a coffee at co-fi.com/this is a talk show if you liked our show, or even if you didn't, you just have some money lying around, you don't know what to do with, you can give it to us. And as always, if you put a dumb name in the top box, I will read it on air. Go to town.
And Daniel, thank you for joining us today. This has been wonderful having you here.
My pleasure. My moment before was technology failing me, so my nerves are now calmed. And
don't worry, technology is going to fail all of us, because with global temperatures on the rise, most of our technology can only work up to a certain temperature, and we're all going to end up in a de-digitalized future before we know it, thanks to global warming. So
I've never felt like I've had more to look forward to in my life than this moment.
Enjoy this level of connectivity while you can. And ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the cool strummings of Kristin Mueller-Heaslip. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. So, and also stay tuned. We're going to be having season 3 coming out sometime in September. But yes, this is a Delta variant themed song, and if you're upset about it, you can complain to Adam because it was his idea. This is the Delta Dawn as recorded by the great Tanya Tucker. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you've got on? Could it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? She's 41 and her daddy still calls her baby. All the folks round Brownsville say she's crazy, 'cause she walks downtown with a suitcase in her hand, searching for a mysterious dark-haired man. In her younger days they called her Delta Dawn, the prettiest woman you've ever laid eyes on, till a man of low repute stood by her side, promising he'd take her for his bride. Delta Dawn, what's that flower you've got on? Could it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? Delta Dawn, what's that flower you've got on? Could it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? Delta Dawn, what's that flower you've got on? Could it be a faded rose from days gone by? And did I hear you say he was meeting you here today to take you to his mansion in the sky? Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you in September sometime. Bye-bye.